Hi, this is Gerrit Schneemann with Counterpoint. I'm here with Brad Haczynski from Samsung. He leads the mobile B2B business in the US. We're going to be talking about Unpacked, all the new hardware and Galaxy AI features that happened today around the world. We're here in New York for the launch of these two new devices, a couple of watches, a ring. Just maybe give us a quick overview of the event today, and then we can go into what that means for you and the B2B world in terms of mobile devices and how all those strategies and devices fit together.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. So, today was, as you know, at Samsung, we try to have what I call a rolling thunder of product launches throughout the year, right? Just to keep the innovation going. Obviously, back in January, we launched the S series devices, the S24 Ultra, along with our flagship tablets, the S series tablets, etc. In between that, we didn't do as big of an event. We launched the Galaxy Book 4, which is the AI PC, which is actually something that's really important. As you know, AI, is pervasive on mobile devices. We were the first to launch a mobile device with native generative AI capabilities with Galaxy AI and the S24. However, we are also part of this wave of Microsoft Copilot, AI PCs, along with the other players in the market. And then today was about launching our new foldable devices along with updates to the wearables. And I think the big reveal today, this is our 6th generation foldable devices. Yeah. And, Samsung, while we're not the only foldable device in the market, we take great pride in being the true innovator of the first foldable devices and really being the pioneer of the technology. And so as you saw today in Unpacked, we talked about, how we've had consistent improvements. The Flip device is a wonderful device. We don't see this selling as much in B2B per se, maybe some SMBs, et cetera, unless an enterprise environment has a BYOD policy and somebody really likes the phone they take in. We are putting more of our focus around the fold because we think the fold actually creates differentiated use cases for B2B. But in general, you heard it all today, right? I mean, even from the Fold 4 to the Fold 5, they improved the hinge. And what they've done here is we just listen to the voice of the customer. And it's continued improvement, continued innovation around the display to make the display more durable, continued innovation around the hinge. It's lighter, it's thinner. The front screen is a little bit wider. And this has been, so really just continuing to improve upon, these devices. The wearables are actually, we can get more into it later in the conversation, is quite cool. So I'm wearing the Galaxy Watch 7 right here. I don't have the Ultra. The Ultra was the really big announcement, right? I mean, that's for the really enthusiasts,
quite substantial.
Yeah, substantially different than the Galaxy 6 Classic that we had. And then, of course, the Galaxy Ring. And, you heard a lot about AI and integration of AI and a lot about Samsung Health. And so we can talk more about how that all interacts with B2B. But these products have a great not only capability and differentiation, but we have a product portfolio that's very broad. And so what that really does is allows customers of all types and all types of use cases and users to really identify what the outcome they're looking for and get them the right product.
Yeah, that's a good topic to bring up, the focus on the fold, because I think a couple of years ago there was a lot of focus on more mid-range devices for like a B2B fleet deployment. Type of thing, but I think that changed over the last couple of years. I think maybe not just last year with the Fold, but even the year before, if I'm not mistaken, to really focus, like you said, on the Fold as kind of the B2B seller. How has that been going? Has there been has the interest changed over time in the B2B world, where people are now even more recognizing kind of the benefits of having the larger screen, and now on top of that, we're adding Galaxy AI type of features onto that. So have you seen an increase in interest so far, and do you expect this kind of announcement to really push this into a new growth era?
Yeah. So first of all, great question. I've been at Samsung for a year now. I've learned a lot. I've learned a ton in the last year coming from the world of Intel that I came from. But I got to tell you, it's really it really depends on the use case. So because we have such a great variety of products. So for instance, in fleets, when you mentioned fleets, a lot of fleets today still, will be using our ruggedized tablet, 8-inch, the Tab Active 5. It's a wonderful device, right? It really serves a great purpose for customers in mobility. And then of course A series, which the value devices. We've done a lot in the A series in like healthcare and specialized spaces. We had a public several years ago with Walmart. They're using the X Cover Pro for all employees in the stores for scanning and clocking and all that. So there's a lot of stuff. But with the Fold, I think what you're pointing out is the Fold is continuing. We've continued to generate sort of new use cases and capabilities around this. I think the best positioning for the Fold is really the enterprise user. Now, I've actually gotten into a few Ubers and Lyfts, and I've actually been delighted to see they're using a Fold device. And I've actually asked them why you're using it. They said, I just love the screen. The fact that I can close it when I'm not working, but when I come in here, I didn't want to have a tablet here per se. I had an S22 in the past, but this is just the perfect size and form factor. So you see some areas like that. But really, it's been, with the Galaxy AI capabilities, it's been about, we've been developing use cases. So for instance, we've done a lot of optimization on these phones with application providers, third parties. So one example is Bloomberg, right? So like the Bloomberg application is designed to work on the foldable screen. So you target wealth managers. You go to the financial services district right here in New York City, and you talk about how, a lot of times the banks want to get the wealth managers out from behind the desk. Right? They're moving away from sometimes PCs in those environments to either a tablet-like environment, or the Fold is perfect. You're going out and you're talking to customers, and you want to have application. You want to have access to those applications. I think the other thing too is for somebody like me who's on the go. When I think about how many times do I have to on the road take a WebEx call, or Microsoft Teams call, or Zoom, right? Those applications are optimized for this, where I can set it down, and you're all of a sudden seeing the video on the top, and then you're seeing the presentation on the bottom. If you have the S Pen, you can do some annotations, right? So that productivity and capability for the so there's lots of ways we can look at it, whether it's specific use cases for targeted audiences, like in financial services or in healthcare. We're seeing new use cases emerge for the foldables with nurses and remote patient monitoring, et cetera, but also just the general enterprise user. I think Samsung, we haven't done a good enough job telling our story to the market. And that's one of the reasons I appreciate sitting down with you, because customers, when they realize and they see this, they go, wow, I'm on the road a lot, and I can annotate PowerPoint presentations, Word documents, Excel. And when you open up this device and you do it, it's a different experience than even on a standard S series device.
Absolutely.
And if you're looking for increased productivity, there's no better device than this. I think that's really. I mean, I know it's a longer answer, but it's
that absolutely makes sense. I think that's I think it has been a strategy, like I said, for some time now. It's time to work on delivering on that promise. I think part of that discussion has to be now that we're in the second launch cycle of Galaxy AI. I think one thing that has been great to see since January at the launch in San Jose to now, kind of the fast-paced work that has been done to further enhance and integrate and layer Galaxy AI on use cases, develop new use cases, but also then, like what was shown today with the Fold, to integrate them and make use of that extra display real estate that you have with, having the transcript and the voice recorder on the same side. So there's just from watching this morning, just another step, another host of features that can be used that are great for consumers, obviously, but are going to be really powerful for the enterprise as well. And I was glad to see a lot of talk about privacy and all that kind of stuff, because I think that will be critical for enterprise as well. And I saw the Knox logo on there without Knox being mentioned, but maybe you can talk a little bit about how that has to shake out for your side of the house to take Galaxy AI, which has been, at least positioned for the consumer so far, but obviously there's a long history of privacy and security already at Samsung. So how do you approach that? What has to change? Does something have to change that you have to convince enterprise customers that what we're building is already good enough, or that you have to make adjustments to kind of separate or kind of have two-path approach to AI and Gen AI on these devices, and then specifically for kind of enterprise deployments?
Yeah, no, I think it's a great question. First, I want to address what you said about, we call that flex mode, by the way, which is, that ability. I'm glad you called it out, because that is a game changer. When you have a device such as the Fold, and if you're using a standard S series device and you go into sort of the meeting and you start recording, it'll only show the recording of the meeting and the speakers. But the fact that you're taking advantage of the real estate into flex mode allows you to, as they showed, you can take notes while the meeting is being recorded. Then you can also from there go to a sort of a summary of the meeting and use the AI for that. So that's incredible. So that's exactly what we're doing. So when we build out these use cases, last year when we talked about the Fold 5, we talked a lot about productivity and security, but now you add in the layer of Galaxy AI, and that increases productivity. And I agree, whether it's language translation in real time, or it's the integration with Samsung Notes, there's a lot of capabilities in the device. Now, with regards to enterprises, when we first launched Galaxy AI, the first thing, a lot of questions came right away from enterprise customers. Well, I need to know what's on the device and what's going in the public cloud. Because once you get into the regulated space, in the banking industry or maybe healthcare, you quickly start to see that there are many enterprises who sometimes are blocking calls to any public, like ChatGPT. They're potentially some are blocking access to the public internet to some degree. So the first thing we did was, that's why you said it, Gerrit, seeing the improvements in 6 short months, right? So now we are very, clearly we go in and we talk to an enterprise, a CIO, an IT decision maker, and we can say, hey, here are all the capabilities, what's on device and what's off device. We also added in the capability to shut it off. You can simply go in and toggle that from inside the menu. There's also further privacy settings that you can set for your personal data and your privacy of your personal data and how AI uses that data. So that handles that. And then you're right, Knox. So from a Knox perspective, right, we always continue to innovate around the Knox platform. As you know, Knox is obviously, from a chip-up architecture, is important. But then, we build a lot of capabilities into Knox to work with mobile device managers, to work with the Knox services portal. How do you write policy, and how do you drive policy around what's occurring on the device, what's not occurring on the device? So we continue to just work with customers and innovate on that. And I think that's what's giving us this inherent advantage. I mean, one of the things that was really important about Samsung to get out of the gate, to have the world's first native AI phone, was I knew in the business world it's going to become a lot more complex. And there's a lot more things that enterprises are having to deal with to keep their data and their IP secure and safe. So the quicker we get that voice of the customer, that we get back to Suwon in Korea, the faster we're coming out and making adjustments to ensure those kinds of policies and those kinds of controls continue to be put in place.
I think that'll be critical, just because of, there's going to be so many unforeseen or not thought about use cases or what have you, that it'll be almost a logistical nightmare then to try to get that all sorted out. So having a partner like Samsung with a platform that is already ready to go in a lot of ways, for the enterprise, I think that'll be a real differentiator for enterprise customers. Not just in the US, but I think globally. And then, if you think about integrating external AI back into the device, if somebody brings their own stuff, and just having all the touch points that Samsung has already provided for integrating with enterprise systems, I think that's going to be quite different from what others have on the market right now. And then I think then we can broaden it up to the having access to the wider ecosystem, that not just that we saw today, but with the laptop and the tablets. I think it's going to be just a really broad, but also deep bench then to approach somebody with.
That's right, and that's exactly right. We are the only company that has this kind of portfolio.
Yeah.
And it's really about addressing customer needs. And there's, and there's amazing. The other thing we didn't even mention or talk about was DeX, the desktop experience capability, right? So we actually have customers who, this device, the Fold 6 is so powerful from a compute standpoint and capability. I mean, there are talks we have with some customers around just having this as the main device and sitting down. We have customers who do this with tablets as well and plugging it in and doing DeX and then just almost using it. So like when I'm on the go, I unplug it from the USB cable and I'm off to go. I come back to my desk, I plug it in, and then I'm just almost having a PC-like experience. Obviously, you're operating inside the Android platform, but pretty much every application, et cetera, works just fine in there. So it's just a lot of continued innovations to really give our customers that choice to really find that right solution.
Yeah. All right. Maybe then just one final question. Looking at the second half of the year, I think we've seen from the consumer space this kind of elongated life cycle for devices, and I know enterprise is different, and for the US specifically, kind of a lull in upgrades from the carriers. What do you think about these devices, and what will they do for the rest of the year in terms of just maybe reinvigorating the market a little bit and just raising interest in new devices, whether it's the phones or whether it's an AI PC? How do you see that shaking out over the next, for the second half of this year, maybe into next year? Because I feel like I think with the launch of the S24 series, there was kind of a ignition, and then we've had really the launches with Microsoft really seem to have really taken off in terms of just mind share and people really being interested about. Maybe it's just the universe I live in, but I don't think I can remember last time that PCs were this hot of a topic to talk about and get hands on and do things with and do new things with. So how do you see that transition, and what is that? All these new launches, all these new devices, all these new capabilities. What do you think that means for your business? Is that just going to ramp up and drive?
First of all, one of the challenges that I think every company's thinking about today is we still have some macroeconomic challenges here in the U.S., right? So we're still in an inflationary environment. Some customers are still, in a cash preservation mode. But I think your point is that, even when you look at PC refresh cycles for enterprise, definitely you're seeing this, AI and the AI PC is creating a potential new buying cycle. Of course, Windows 11, which has also been a forcing function on the PC side. But I think it's all really good stuff. I think you're seeing the market really embrace, so long as, I think the most important thing that we need to do as Samsung to continue to generate momentum for us is it's about, one, ensuring the use case and the outcome is clear to the customer, right? Some customers are price sensitive. These are not low cost devices, right? So you really have to build a really value-driven outcome for them to understand, do they have OpEx savings or productivity savings? Like what does that really mean for them to deploy these kind of devices in their environment? So I think there's that. I think we have to continue to get the voice of the feedback of the customer on what more kinds of controls do they think they need from an AI, because again, it's still very nascent. I think there are some companies that are more willing to go explore, the capabilities, and there are some that are probably a little bit more gun shy and they're going to kind of wait it out. So I think for us, it's really about just staying the course, driving the innovation with our customers, making sure they understand the outcomes we can create for them. And it's really, it's our opportunity to create this market. And like I said, and when you have a PC, and the mobile device, both with native AI capabilities, even though they're different operating system platforms, we have great synergies with Microsoft, linked to Windows, and the ability to use an Android device in a Windows environment, and the ways that you can connect the Galaxy Book 4 PC to your device. You can be doing, obviously, Copilot on the PC and Galaxy AI on the mobile device. And I think we need to just continue to work with our partners around exploring what does better together look like and how do we go really drive that into the market.
Actually, one follow-up on that one. Because I think for me, the story then is, that ecosystem that is there. How do you think wearables and network connectivity on devices other than phones, for tablets or for PCs, to some extent wearables as well. Is that a for your client customers? Is that a driver that maybe now there's a more view towards 5G integration? And because I think everybody's been talking about 5G and laptops and tablets for a long time, and then it's like 1% of the market or what have you. It might be. Are we now at a stage where there's so much new technology, new capabilities that can actually then drive that segment of the market? Because now we're like, okay, I'm going to be super productive on my laptop, and I don't want to, rely on Wi-Fi only. Do we think that this is a kind of, I don't know, another step towards that direction, or are we just going to stay at a small segment of the market that really looks towards connectivity?
So first I'll speak to my personal experience less about Samsung. The 5G connected PC, even back when I was at Intel, was always something that the connected PC was I think an idea that just never really took off. And then the concept of tethering came into your phone. And so I think for a lot of people, they end up using their phone to tether. I actually had to pull something off on my PC on the way here, and I ended up tethering to my phone to do so. But I know the carriers are always looking for ways to have more connectivity. I think it really depends. I mean, I can see a case where folks who want to have a connected PC with a direct 5G connection. But then again, this is what I'm talking about. This is why this device is so powerful and important, because if this is almost PC tablet-like, it's a different operating system, and it's always on connected, you can do a lot of the things that you can do on your PC to here. You just have to show that value to the customer. So I think I think the market's going to kind of dictate and watch that. Because all these different form factors, like I said, you could use a PC, you might be able to use a tablet, you might be able to use a foldable device. But really, what ends up being the best for your business? But I mean, obviously, connectivity is here to stay. And I do want to, before we adjourn, I do want to address wearables. And I'm glad you brought up wearables, because we didn't really talk about that. Obviously, the flagship devices take front and center of Unpacked. And when you think about wearables, we're not always necessarily thinking about B2B, but let me tell you something. Wearables are actually something that I think have a very bright future, not only in broader B2B, but also B2B2C. So, for instance, the world's been moving toward this consumption-based economy and this sort of, how do you take personal responsibility for your health, yourself, right? Look at the car insurance industry. You are, a lot of times you can put the chip in the thing in your car, and depending how you drive, you can say more if you show you're a safe driver. Right. So more and more interest, we're talking to insurance companies around, hey, how do I utilize wearable devices, whether it's the Ring form factor, the new form factor, or the watch, and I can give that to customers. And if customers are showing me their data, of course, you have privacy and HIPAA and all that, but all of a sudden, it's like, hey, we can fundamentally change the insurance industry for people who are using wearables to show that they're living a healthier lifestyle and would be less risk for the insurance. That's also translating into the enterprise customers, right? More and more enterprise, especially since COVID. During COVID, we saw a lot of concerns around, physical well-being, mental health, mental well-being. More and more companies are putting a lot of resources into employee health and encouraging mental health, physical wellness. Even at Samsung, we have a lot of great benefits that we provide for our employees around these functions. So the wearables, again, are starting to make their way into, if you're a large enterprise and I can deploy, or even an SME, and I can deploy wearables and show that I'm encouraging a healthy lifestyle for employees. Insurance premiums could potentially go down. So there's a lot of those new use cases. We're seeing use cases in manufacturing, monitoring employees on the floor, making sure they're not staying too long, they're taking their breaks, they're hydrating. We're seeing it in, so I think there's a whole world when I think about B2B, the standard, phones and tablets and PCs, but the wearables are really something that I think are going to truly be game changing. And the way that Samsung integrates the wearables with the phone, with Samsung Health, you saw the applause in the room today in Unpacked. We're not charging for it. Right? That's a pretty incredible, the fact that we're not, charging a service fee for Samsung Health. I think that, and on our team, that's one of the roles of our team, is to continue to show these types of use cases, bring them to customers, go to particular industries, because our team has an industry focus, right? So I have sales teams that are, we have federal and finance and public sector and, healthcare and education, and it's really about driving vertical specific use cases for all products and outcomes, and then bringing them to the customers and showing the value. I'm super excited about where we can take that.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really important part too, and I think one where it's easy to get on board with, and as a stepping stone to a much broader ecosystem.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right.